You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Monday the 3rd of March 2014. Muslim parents plan Trojan Horse strategy to oust non-Muslim head teachers and turn schools into Muslim schools. French woman's sham marriage to Cameroonian halted. Claudia Schiffer and her £1 million indecent proposal from an Arab prince. Italians and French make least faithful partners. Hijab as punishment in Saudi schools. Ukraine crisis, Russia vows troops will stay. Thought for the day, nature, have we got it wrong? And finally, the game of asylum. Before the news, we at Radio Britain and World at 8 would like to welcome a little new nationalist, Edmund Roy Mathis, to the world. A brother for Oliver and weighing in at £7 8 ounces. Our congratulations to Jennifer, Angus and the Griffin clan. UK News. Muslim parents plan Trojan Horse strategy to oust non-Muslim head teachers and turn schools into Muslim schools. While British authorities assume, on pain of charges of Islamophobia, that Muslim populations will easily assimilate into British society and accept British values without any demur or hesitation, this small group of fundamentalist Salafists had exactly the opposite idea. They plotted to turn British schools into Muslim schools. Note the deception at the heart of the endeavour, the English face required to front the effort. This is by no means the last time an incident like this is going to happen there. In fact, this incident is a harbinger of things to come. Disaffected Muslim parents urged faith takeover of Birmingham schools, leaked documents show from the Huffington Post UK, March 2nd, thanks to two Stellas. Documents purportedly from disaffected Muslim parents being described as a small group of fundamentalist Salafists are being investigated by a Midlands council after they apparently urged a Muslim takeover of failing schools. The Sunday Times reported that Birmingham City Council is deeply concerned about Operation Trojan Horse, strategy documents which allegedly outline plans to oust head teachers in Muslim areas of the city and turn the schools into faith-based academies run on Islamic principles. The documents leaked to a Sunday Times call for an end to corrupting children with sex education, teaching about homosexuals, making their children say Christian prayers and mixed swimming and sports. They say parents should parachute in Muslim governors to drip feed ideals for a Muslim school, have an English face to campaigns to turn secular schools into faith-based academies, and wear down the resolve of a head teacher at a targeted school so they eventually give up. One school mentioned in the Sunday Times report was Regent's Park Primary, where headmistress Tina Ireland was given an outstanding Ofsted report, but resigned last year after questions were raised on exam performance. If proven bona fide, the documents will be a further blow to the government's Free Schools programme, dogged by the closure of the Al Medina School in Derby after Ofsted found it failing in every respect, and reports children were being segregated by sex and non-Muslim members of staff being told to wear Islamic dress. Parkview Academy in Birmingham is also subject of allegations that school leadership sidelined non-Muslim staff and implemented Islamic studies lessons in the secular school. It will now be investigated by Department of Education despite an outstanding Ofsted rating. Birmingham City Council said in a statement, "We are investigating allegations in relation to some schools in the Birmingham area and have passed any relevant information to West Midlands Police to investigate." Police said they were monitoring information given to them by the council. World at 8. That should be interesting, knowing the police. That will lead to absolutely nothing. But only in the UK would any authorities allow this to happen. It is a disgrace and it is not finished yet. French woman's sham marriage to Cameroonian halted. A 21-year-old French woman and a 26-year-old Cameroonian man were arrested moments before they were due to tie the knot. 4 people have been arrested after a suspected sham marriage was halted in Hampshire. Home Office immigration enforcement officers arrested a 21-year-old French woman and a 26-year-old Cameroonian man moments before they were due to tie the knot at Winchester Register Office. Investigators attended the ceremony following a tip-off that it might not be genuine. A 29-year-old man and a 30-year-old man have also been arrested. The woman was held on suspicion of perjury, bigamy and assisting unlawful immigration. It's suspected she'd been married twice before, neither of which relationship had been dissolved. The Cameroonian man, whose leave to remain in the UK expires shortly, was detained on suspicion of perjury. Both were being questioned at a Hampshire police station, while searches took place at properties in Basingstoke and Lewisham, South London. The 29-year-old man from the Ivory Coast and the 30-year-old man, who presented a Belgian identity card, were arrested at a property in High Street, Winchester. They were held on suspicion of conspiracy to facilitate a breach of UK immigration law. Officers also found a quantity of cash which has been seized under the Proceeds of Crime Act, a Home Office spokesman said. The Home Office said the operation took place with the full cooperation of the Superintendent and Registrar. A spokesman said a sham marriage or civil partnership typically occurs when a non-European national marries someone from the European Economic Area as a means of attempting to gain long-term residency and the right to work and claim benefits in the UK. World at 8. The French woman looked Cameroonian to me, and why would a French woman come to England to marry a Cameroonian? Because the French aren't stupid and English registrars are generally too gullible. European news. Claudia Schiffer and her £1 million indecent proposal from an Arab prince. Supermodels are probably inundated with flattering offers of dates from love-struck men all the time. The only trouble must be deciding which ones to accept. But Claudia Schiffer knew exactly what to do when she received a rather indecent proposal of her own, walk away with her head held high. The German-born model has told of her outrage when an Arab prince asked to hire her for a dinner for £1 million. World at 8. Well, we've all had one of those, although mine didn't offer money. I was only 14 and with my mother, so obviously nothing transpired. Italians and French make least faithful partners. Berlusconi, Hollande represent their countries well, study says. Italians and French make the most unfaithful partners in Europe, with more than 1 man in 2 and roughly 1 woman in 3 admitting to have cheated, according to a French study issued Thursday. After all the hype surrounding French President François Hollande's love life and articles in foreign media about the fickle nature of the French, the data confirms the stereotypes about Latin men being particularly unfaithful, said Françoise Kraus, head of the IFOP agency behind the study. Researchers who surveyed 4,800 people across Europe said male promiscuity was less prominent in countries that are predominantly Protestant such as Britain and Germany. In the end, Hollande and Italian ex-premier Silvio Berlusconi represent their respective countries rather well, added Kraus. World at 8. Well, if the average Latin lover looks like either of these two guys, yuck. World news. Hijab as punishment in Saudi schools. The school's principal did not like the new hairdo of student Hanan al-Attash after the mid-year break, so she decided to punish Attash by forcing her to wear a hijab throughout the academic year until her hair grows back to its previous length and colour. Of course, Attash has to accept the punishment, described as the first of its kind punishment given by a school principal. Summary recent cases indicate that some Saudi schools are requiring women to wear hijabs as punishment for non-traditional haircuts in violation of the Ministry of Education's disciplinary code. Another female student, Nihal Al-Kawatem, dyed her hair light blonde and chose a modern cut in celebration of her marriage during the mid-year break. She wanted to change her look for the young man who became part of her life and in honour of the new journey on which she had embarked. She was shocked when the superintendent forced her during the morning line-up to wear the hijab. The superintendent still keeps an eye on Kawatem every day and tries to find her amongst all her acquaintances. World at 8. Sounds like a personal problem to me. Ukraine crisis. Russia vows troops will stay. The BBC is reporting that Russia has vowed its troops will remain in Ukraine to protect Russian interests and citizens until the political situation has been normalised. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia was defending human rights against ultra-nationalist threats. Russia is now in de facto military control of the Crimea region, despite Western condemnation of a violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. Ukraine has ordered full mobilisation to counter the military intervention. No shots have been fired and no treaties signed, but Crimea is now de facto under Russian armed control. 2 large Ukrainian military bases are surrounded, with Russian troops standing alongside local self-defence groups who demand that the Ukrainian soldiers inside defect from Kiev to Crimea's new pro-Russian government. The naval headquarters remain blockaded and key installations like airports are still occupied. Thousands of newly arrived Russian elite troops far outnumber Ukraine's military presence here. Crimea has in effect been cut off by roadblocks where vehicles are being denied access to the peninsula. At countless pro-Russia demonstrations, Moscow's intervention is warmly welcomed, but away from the nationalist fervour, Crimeans from all sides are profoundly fearful of what comes next. Mr Lavrov said in Geneva on Monday that Russian troops were needed in Ukraine until the normalisation of the political situation. Russia's parliament authorised the use of troops last Saturday in the wake of the ousting of pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych last month. World at 8. This is a difficult one in view of the history of the Ukraine during the last war, but Putin will look after the Russian-speaking Ukrainians better than Cameron will look after his indigenous English-speaking peoples. Thought for the day. Nature. Have we got it all wrong? I'm a tree hugger and an animal rights persona, much to the disgust of true country people, of which there are but a few genuine ones left. Most of these who consider themselves country raised are rarely raised on farms or in the real outreaches of the country. But on the other hand, I am a townie in reality, not wanting to be far from a good lawyer, hairdresser or latte. But at least I am honest about it. And if a lottery win is on the cards, all animal charities would benefit, and I would personally donate huge amounts of money to feed the cattle on the Somerset levels and look after the poor deserted horses left to starve because their owners' houses have gone down in price. So having established where I stand on nature, I'm having great difficulty in understanding why corporations and governments don't understand that once a tree is cut down it is gone, and once an animal becomes extinct, that is gone too, for all time. Part of nationalism is loving your country, and despite my various attacks on the general mentality of the sheeples nowadays, this doesn't detract from my love of England and its countryside and animals. In Hampshire where I live, when I moved there were lots of lovely old trees around, but in the last couple of years someone, somewhere, in the local council must be running a cutting down tree business, and the latest to go was a lovely swathe of trees which masked an old people's complex next to the road. Gone today, just gone, and these ghastly abodes look like sodding Belson on a bad day. What is it with the English? Show them a tree and they cut it down. Somehow they need the light streaming on what is usually bad building and even worse planning. Extend this mentality to a goodly portion of corporate thinking and obeisance to the shareholders who seem to take the place of gods and human and animal sacrifice, and we have a real doozy going on around the world and here in the United Kingdom. I received an email on the dirty palm oil being harvested in Indonesia and used throughout the world in just about everything. Javan and Balinese tigers are already extinct. Now as few as 400 Sumatran tigers remain. Their habitat is being destroyed to produce the palm oil that finds its way into products we use every day. This isn't just about tigers. Indonesia hosts a mind-blowing array of Earth's natural wonders, and the world's forests play a critical role in stabilising the global climate. They are our planet's lungs, and yet 80% of them have been destroyed or degraded, and the rest are under threat. One of the main manufacturers in this case is Procter & Gamble, who make Head and Shoulders shampoo and buy palm oil from the companies tearing down the trees. We also have the new threat of solidified palm oil being dumped off our coasts, coming ashore and poisoning pet dogs who go for a run on the beaches in and around the Cornish and Sussex coasts. If it kills dogs, then what the hell does it do for the fish and the aquatic environment which our fishermen rely on? Why doesn't the EU pass some laws that really help our country, or indeed why doesn't Parliament? We know the world is overpopulated, but not with the sort of populations that do much for their environment or indeed anyone else's. The amount of terrible stories I hear of poor little donkeys worked to death in the Middle East, and worse, videos of torture and killing of horses and donkeys from these areas in which these Islamic bastards are laughing and enjoying themselves. We all know of the East Asian mindset on animals, so won't dwell on it, or the Indians who kill baby elephants for sport. I will leave Africa out because these people have not evolved at all, in my opinion, beyond the trees. Now I know many of you will say how the EFTA suffering animals and deforestation in the world affect us in the UK. Well, a prime example is of course the attitude of a country changing due not only to world changing conditions but to the influx of millions of people from the regions where these actions have gone unnoticed and unchanged for hundreds of years. When people leave their countries, they leave with all their cultural norms and history with them, and this manifests itself in their community and individual behaviour. And in the UK you can add the ridiculous and diverse rules on our farming and fisheries as dictated by the EU. So we have in the UK a double whammy of aims to strip mine our land and farming industries, and a whole new tribe of enrichers who have the opposite ideas on animals and their welfare that most of us Brits have had for many years. Animal cruelty has trebled in the last decade, and not all of it is due to our middle class becoming poorer, but due to our new culture of enrichers. In Islam, dogs are considered unclean, and it's borne out by the stupid Brits leaving babies and toddlers alone with the family pet. The media love it, but the one question they never ask the usually hysterical and illiterate parents is why the child, in this case a 3-day-old baby, was left alone with a dog. If it was whining and wriggling, poor old doggy got annoyed and did what dogs do, chew on the offending object. Sad but true, dogs are lovely creatures, and although a cat person, I would love a dog. But horrendous stories are now coming out of the plight of animals that we in the UK send overseas to the Middle East for their slaughter and appetites. Why are we sending our live animals over to these hellholes? Surely our farmers are not that badly off. I couldn't watch the video because it would haunt me forever, but suffice to say the text wasn't too hot either. These animals are ours and ones from Europe, and their journeys are horrendous. But when the journey is over, it only gets worse. 3 million animals a year are exported live from the European Union to non-EU countries. As soon as they leave EU borders, they are no longer protected by European law. They're on their own out there. Late last year we released evidence showing appalling cruelty to European animals at a slaughterhouse in Beirut. Now Compassion's investigation unit, in partnership with Animals Australia, has also documented brutal handling at abattoirs and on the streets in Jordan, Turkey and the West Bank. Now you will note that all these countries are mainly Muslim, and of course these poor beasts will be halal slaughtered, which is becoming the norm in this country, our country as well. Note that many of these animals are killed on the street or at the back of food emporiums, of which I can speak, having dined at an Egyptian one many years ago. The cook still had blood all over his hands and apron when he came along with the very fresh lamb. Now sending our cattle for slaughter abroad is reprehensible enough. With our rising populations we need these animals ourselves, and what are we doing feeding the sodding Middle East? They've done okay for hundreds of years churning out children on their own diets, so why bother now? It is of course money. Now they can pay for European meat. They are the last ones to worry over how it is accomplished. Whereas our farmers and suppliers should be monitored much more closely by our Ministry of Ag and Fish, or DEFRA, who in reality do nothing at all. Now no one expects even our animal slaughterers to be anything more than either desperately hard up sadistic bastards who enjoy torturing and manhandling animals before they're killed, or foreigners to whom it is a form of sport they get paid for, and within their cultural norms. But in the Middle East it is just normal behaviour. And I remember seeing a picture taken in the street of a baby camel who had just had his throat cut by a young boy being taught by his father how to kill on Holy Day. Lovely. When are we going to understand that not all people are the same? We are all different to look at, and thus all different throughout the world, with different histories, different religions, and certainly different attitudes towards animals, both working and domestic. I don't like the way Muslims, or indeed many other races, treat their animals, But by the same rule, I appreciate certain animals are made for work but should be treated as well as they can in order to carry out that work. Some animals are reared for food, but kill them in a humane manner and treat them well as long as they live. We have always had our idiots and retards, but to import millions of strangers with their own lack of empathy for any animal into this country on a massive scale is surely not the way to go. Our governments don't have the bollocks to impose proper laws and see they get adhered to, so we, in the British National Party, must. Why? Because when it boils down to the nitty gritty, this is our country, our people, our farms, our animals and our fisheries. Our newcomers have their own countries which must be missing them so much. The killing fields of the Middle East and the abattoirs of Poland and the rearing of pigs in Eastern Europe are a disgrace to humankind, as is the denuding of our forests and lands, the result of which we're seeing now in this country. And once again it is the farmer and the cattle who are suffering, and yet Cameron wants to send money we have not got to Syria and Kiev. He should be ashamed and should arrange very quickly money to help feed the cattle who cannot graze on the Somerset levels for months to come. Charity starts at home, and it doesn't start with allowing the riff-raff of the world to dictate new rules in a country or a people they don't care for and don't respect, let alone our animals. Once something is gone, albeit animal, vegetable or mineral, it's gone forever and cannot be brought back. And we need to bear that in mind. Us, the indigenous peoples of Great Britain and Europe, can go the way of the dodo. Insha'Allah. And finally, Winner Council House. Good morning and welcome to a brand new edition of Asylum. Today's programme finishes another chance to take part in our exciting competition, Hijack an Airliner and Win a Council House. We've already given away hundreds of millions of pounds and thousands of dream homes, courtesy of our sponsor, the British taxpayer. And don't forget, we're now in the fastest growing game on the planet. Anyone can play, provided they don't already hold a valid British passport, and you only need one word of English: asylum. Prizes include all expenses paid accommodation, cash benefits starting at £180 a week, and a chance to earn thousands more begging, mugging or accosting drivers at traffic lights. This competition is open to everyone buying a ticket or stowing away on one of our partner airlines, ferry companies or Eurostar. No application ever refused, reasonable or unreasonable. All you have to do is to destroy all your papers and remember the magic password: asylum. Only this week 140 members of the Taliban family from Afghanistan were flown goat class from Kabul to our international gateway at Stansted, where local law enforcement officers were on hand to fast track them to their luxury £200 a night rooms in the fabulous 4-star Hilton Hotel. They joined tens of thousands of other lucky winners already staying at hotels all over Britain. Our most popular destinations also include the White Cliffs of Dover and the world famous Toddington Services area in historic Bedfordshire. If you still don't understand the rules, don't forget there's no need to phone a friend or ask the audience, just apply for legal aid. Hundreds of lawyers, social workers and counsellors are waiting to help. It won't cost you a penny, so play today. It could change your life forever. Iraqi terrorists, Afghan dissidents, Albanian gangsters, pro-Pinochet activists, anti-Pinochet activists, Kosovan drug smugglers, Tamil tigers, bogus Bosnians, Rwandan mass murderers, Somali guerrillas, come on down. Get along to the airport, get along to the lorry park, get along to the ferry terminal. Don't stop in Germany or France. Go straight to Britain and you are guaranteed to be one of the tens of thousands of lucky winners in the softest game on earth. Everyone's a winner when they play Asylum. You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozar and I wish you all a very good night.